It's 1989, a year when hair was big, music was loud, and apparently, planes could just casually bump into each other mid-air. There we are, cruising along in a US commercial jet, pilots exchanging the latest gossip, when bam! A wild plane named DC-10 appears from the heavens above, giving our plane a not-so-gentle nudge. Naturally, the main pilot's like, oops, lost control there, as the plane decides it's time to impersonate a falling leaf. Cut to the first officer, who, in a moment of brilliance, decides to check on the engines, only to find out that everyone's a crispy critter. Rushing back, he probably thought, can't wait to share this with the group chat. Meanwhile, there's this mysterious gadget chilling on the floor, probably thinking, am I a joke to you? Next thing you know, the plane's had enough and goes kaboom, taking the express route to the ground. Enter our hero, Bill Smith, a National Transportation Safety Board investigator, and his merry band of clue hunters. They bump into Dr. Arnold Mayer, a theoretical physicist who's like, aliens? Am I right? While Bill gets his hands on the pilot's last mixtape, they also meet Jans, the air traffic controller who's basically like, was juggling 40 flights, looked away for a sec, and poof, DC-10 photobombs the radar. Jans gets all teary, probably regretting not choosing a less stressful hobby, and our squad decides to give him some space. Bill then wanders over to the airport hangar for a dose of airplane CSI, where he encounters Louise Baltimore, the coffee ninja, who vanishes at the sight of him. Because that's how you handle potential flirts. Ignoring his missed connection, Bill sits down to listen to the pilot's last words, only to be interrupted by Louise making a dramatic return with the coffee. Sparks fly, but the real shocker comes when the recording reveals that the passengers were having a barbecue party without a grill before the crash. The team is baffled, thinking maybe the first officer was just spooked. Bill, now doubling as a detective, stumbles upon a gym-turned-morgue where watches are throwing it back to the past, literally running backwards, because obviously, when you're investigating a plane crash, time travel is the first thing that comes to mind. So, there's Bill, fresh off the world's most confusing plane crash investigation, now playing the role of celebrity at a press conference. Microphones everywhere, flashbulbs popping, and reporters tossing questions like confetti. Enter Dr. Arnold, our resident I think aliens did it guy, trying to squeeze some top-secret intel out of Bill. But Bill, being the master of secrets he is, zips his lips tighter than a pair of skinny jeans from the 80s and goes, nope, it's classified. After dodging questions like, they're dodgeballs, Bill decides he's had enough excitement for one day and heads to his hotel. But, oh, plot twist. He runs into Louise, the mystery woman / coffee dispenser / potential love interest. Bill, ever the smooth operator, suggests coffee, but Louise, aiming for a more, let's say, intimate setting, counters with dinner. Next scene, boom, they're in bed. Classic move, right? But here's where it gets spicy. After Bill snoozes off, Louise pulls a ninja move, sneaks to the bathroom, and cancels his wake-up call. Because who needs alarms when you have a love interest with a secret agenda? Morning hits, and Bill's like, why did no one wake me up? Louise plays the fate card, trying her best to keep him from going to work. But Bill, dedicated to his job of unraveling airplane mysteries and potential alien interventions, insists on leaving. He forgets something, comes back, and poof, Louise has vanished into thin air, leaving Bill in a classic ghosted scenario. Cut to Bill, now playing detective, trying to track down Louise through her supposed workplace, only to find she's as real as my chances of winning the lottery. Night falls, and Bill's at the hangar, probably thinking, this is a great place for a nighttime stroll, when suddenly, he hears a beep. Following the sound, he discovers a flashing red light under some wreckage. It's the mysterious device from earlier, because obviously, what's a sci-fi story without some strange tech? As Bill pokes and prods the device like a curious cat, it decides it's had enough and zaps him, leaving him sprawled on the floor. Then, out of nowhere, 3 women in military outfits appear, and surprise, surprise, one of them is Louise, now looking like she just stepped out of a futuristic fashion magazine. She acts like she's never seen Bill before, because why not add amnesia to the mix? Louise, now apparently a time cop or something, reveals they're here for the device, named Stunner, because creative naming is hard. She then drops a bombshell, drop the investigation or face a time paradox. The usual Tuesday threat. They then strut into a blue light and vanish, leaving Bill on the ground with a piece of the future in his hand. And just when you thought it couldn't get weirder, we jump to the future, where Louise and her crew are time travelers on a mission to save humanity from extinction by playing matchmaker across time. The plane crashes? Just a side hustle to their grand plan of abducting genetically viable humans for future repopulation projects. Then we see Louise and her trusty robot, Sherman. Yes, Sherman, because when you're crafting a high-tech future, you name your most sophisticated robot after a tank or a turtle. Anyway, Sherman's like, boss is on line 1, so off they trot to the control room to face the music. Turns out Louise's casual chit-chat with Bill has stirred up a time quake, which is basically an earthquake but with more Doctor Who vibes. Louise, ever the problem solver, is like, should I have offed Bill to avoid this mess? But before she can say, oops, my bad, a teammate chimes in with a, nope, that would have ended all of us. And just like that, Louise goes from furious to chill in 0.5 seconds. Then, we get this reality TV-worthy moment where they watch Bill on a screen, yelling for Louise as if he's lost in a supermarket. Louise is baffled, thinking, wait, didn't I just meet this guy? Sherman, doubling as the episode's exposition guy, explains the wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff about different timelines. Mind-blowing, I know. Next, we find out that these time travelers have turned smoking into a survival skill because the future's air is basically a dumpster fire. Sherman tells Louise she didn't smoke enough in '69, making her less madman and more sad man. Then, in a twist no one asked for, Louise has to dress up as an air hostess for her next time hop. Because nothing says inconspicuous like a time traveler in uniform. Cut to Dr. Arnold Mayer, giving a TED Talk on how time travelers are real but prefer to keep it on the DL, only mingling with folks who won't live to tweet about it. He's pretty much saying, time travelers, they're just not that into us. Meanwhile, Louise and her girl squad jump back to 1963 on a plane, where they start zapping people with stunners like they're in a sci-fi themed laser tag arena. Then, in a plot twist you could see from the future, a hijacker shows up, gets zapped, and in the chaos, a kid finds a stunner. Because what's a time travel story without leaving incredibly powerful gadgets lying around for kids to find? Louise, in her air hostess disguise, now has to deal with this kid who wants to tell her about the stunner. But before he can say anything, Louise puts him to sleep. With a stunner, not a bedtime story. Then, as if this wasn't wild enough, they rip the back half of the plane through time because why not? The plane was doomed anyway, and in the future, they need people to, well, keep being people. Then, they swap out the passengers with dead clones to cover their tracks. That's right, the old switcheroo. So, when the first officer was all, everyone's already burnt to a crisp, he was actually onto something. Turns out, the time travelers had already prepped for the crash by making barbecue out of clones. So, there we were, chilling in the future, when the boss drops a bombshell, literally. The would-be hijacker had plans for an impromptu redecoration of the cockpit with bullets, which naturally would end in a crash. Solution? Let's just sneak a bomb into the cockpit because, in the twisted logic of time travel, adding explosions equals maintaining historical accuracy. Once the bomb is cozily tucked away, our heroines make like a banana and split. But oh no, plot twist. One of them forgot her stunner on the plane. Louise, being the go-getter she is, dashes back like she forgot her phone at a cafe. Except instead of retrieving a device that can doom all of time, she just has to bail because, surprise, bombs don't wait for anyone. Fast forward to a council meeting in the future, where everyone's chilling in tubes like they're at a bank drive-thru because apparently, that's how you survive the apocalyptic air outside. Here, the council plays connect the dots with the stunners Louise keeps losing like their car keys. One ended up with Bill Smith, and the other's set to become Dr. Arnold Mayer's newest paperweight. The council's bright idea? Send Louise back to play keep away with Bill and the stunner like it's a game of hot potato. They decide to go on another trip to 1969 to stop Bill from finding the stunner in the hangar the day before he originally found it. Then, we see a scene from the past where Bill meets Louise for the first time when he asks her for coffee. The movie goes on as it did before, showing why Louise earlier tried to convince Bill not to go to work. Before going to the hotel, Louise does regular things like driving a car and eating a salad in a strange way, as if she's never encountered these alien concepts before. It's like watching someone use a fork for the first time. Awkward and slightly concerning. The next day, after Bill heads off to solve the mysteries of the universe, Louise hits the Back to the Future button, leaving Bill to wonder if he's been stood up by a time-traveling ghost. But wait, there's more. Another timequake hits, shaking things up like a snow globe in the hands of a toddler. This one's so intense it probably registered on the Richter scale. Louise and the Master then turn into creepy exes, stalking Bill on futuristic CCTV as he ditches his day job to play detective in search of his mysterious vanishing lady and the whole Stunner saga. Predictably, Bill and Dr. Arnold Mayer end up having a show and tell with their pieces of futuristic weaponry, blissfully unaware that they're tinkering with the fabric of time itself. And here's the kicker. Bill, our intrepid investigator, turns out to be the kid from the plane who was almost Stunner tagged by Louise. Small world, right? It's like finding out you're the chosen one in a plot twist that nobody saw coming except everyone. In a last-ditch effort to prevent a paradox that could make the universe implode like a failed souffle, Louise decides to visit Bill and Dr. Arnold. Soon after, she appears from the future and tells them about her mission, hoping they will agree to keep it a secret. While talking about how not to handle future tech, Arnold, in a stunning display of clumsiness, accidentally zaps himself into the afterlife while fiddling with a stunner, assisted by Bill's equally helpful initiator. Who knew teamwork could be so deadly? This, of course, throws a wrench into the whole space-time continuum, because Arnold was the brainiac behind the gate tech, making time travel a thing. Without him, we're looking at a future that's about as promising as your iPhone's battery life at 1%. Cue Louise sprinting to the time gate like it's Black Friday, and she's after the last discounted TV, desperate to fix this mess. Bill, struck by Cupid's arrow amidst the chaos, decides he's sticking to Louise like glue, because who doesn't love a little romance with their existential crises? The lovebirds dive through the portal, only to land in a future that's unraveling faster than a cheap sweater. The grand plan to save humanity? Ship off everyone nabbed from various plane crashes to the distant future for a cosmic reboot. Because apparently, the future needs more unwilling colonists. The Master, acting like a frazzled tour guide, starts herding people into the portal as if it's the last ride off Earth. Just as Bill gears up to jump into the future and possibly star in his own dystopian saga, Louise hits him with the "I gotta stay" line. But Sherman, ever the robotic Cupid, nudges her to chase after her happily ever after with Bill. Plot twist. Louise is expecting Bill's mini-me, because what's a time travel tale without a little baby drama? So, hand in hand, the couple steps through the gate to face their uncertain future, leaving behind a fireworks show of explosions that would put any 4th of July to shame, engulfing Sherman, the Master, and the entire council in a blaze of glory.